Shalom, family. Shalom. This is Sis Mona, aka Sister Ramona, aka Talking to My Generation TV. All praise to the Most High, the Sublime Creator, the Creator, the Great I Am, the Great Loving Kindness, the Great Adonai, the Elohim of Israel, the God of Jacob, Abraham, and Isaac. Um, wow, it's a pleasure to be coming out finally with something for the nation. I do a lot of studying on my own time, but truly I have a couple of girlfriends and brothers sisters and brothers that I study with, and we go hard for the Father, and truly being a public speaker is something that I've always felt like, I can if I have to, but it's not me. So I'm glad to be here with this at this time. So we're going to start it off and letting you guys know what to be mindful for in this lesson. For one, be mindful for my background. I have babies. You might hear in and out, whatever. All praises, because we know every living thing must praise the Most High. But what I want y'all to look out for in this lesson is the tying in of now and then, as so above, so below, numbers, right? I had a dream not too long ago, and it was like one of them short dreams with the main key point of numbers, emphasis on numbers, right? We serve such an infinite power. I have yet to confirm that it's exact to what I'm getting ready to bring out, because we know he's infinite and his things may mean multiple things when it comes to him, right? So we're going to start off and we are going to talk about Ceres, right? What is Ceres, right? Ceres is considered an asteroid. Well, it was, which was bumped up to a dwarf planet, right? We're going to tie this in from Ceres to Pluto. And we're going to give the Most High praises for what he is doing for his people right now. So I'm going to read a little bit of article. Remember, we serve an infinite power, so nothing that I'm going to bring out is going to be absolute, because we may come back and find a different meaning for this, right? So, Ceres was discovered in 1801, as they say. If you add those numbers up, you will get the number 10. There's a couple numbers I want y'all to look out for in this lesson, 10 being one of them. 10 is very important in this lesson, as well as the number 8. If you see here, it's talking about Taurus, Ceres and Taurus, which this article came out back in 2020, around May 8th, right? So there goes that number 8, there goes that number 10. So, having initially been deemed a planet by astronomers, Ceres is the largest body in the asteroid belt that lies between Mars and Jupiter. Named after the Roman goddess of agriculture, its astrological interpretation by sign and house speaks to how we nurture those we love, as well as how we deal with loss and process trauma. Ceres is the counterpart to Demeter, the Greek goddess of the harvest, whose daughter Persephone was famously stolen to the underworld by Hades, aka Pluto. I want y'all to listen to this in detail. Put your Holy Spirit on. Ask the Father to be with us while we bring this lesson out, because it's so many gems. And I'm excited for the brothers and sisters to gather together on this and maybe even drop more. Because you know, when he calls one, he calls another, and it just goes on and on to his endless knowledge, right? Okay, so keep in mind that we are listening to our stolen story, so we know what they do and how they twist things around, but get the meat. So, in the origin story, of the seasons, grieved by their separation as well as the loss of her purpose as a mother. Ceres withered the crops, subjecting the countryside to famine. Upon learning of his people's suffering and starvation, Zeus ordered Persephone to be returned to the upper world. But by virtue of some last-minute trickery by Hades, she was obligated to spend a third of the year below ground. During this time, Ceres would mourn and the earth would become more barren in accordance with the winter months. When Persephone was permitted to return to the world above, spring would arrive and life would begin to flourish again. Ceres, aka Demeter, and Pluto, aka Hades, share a connection with cycles of renewal and rebirth, life and death. Ceres' symbol is the sickle, similar to that of Plutonian Grim Reaper. While Ceres' domain is what grows out of the soil, Pluto's domain is what is buried within it. Keep all of the details right. Okay. Amusingly, Ceres' contemporary astronomical designation was upgraded from asteroid to dwarf planet in 2006, in the same year that Pluto was reassigned and effectively demoted from its former position as the solar system's ninth planet. The ninth planet, y'all. Okay, listen, we already know what that number 9 represents here. Okay, in a way, this is a modern confirmation of their ongoing feud. Ultimately, Ceres articulates what it means to lose something or lose someone you love and regain it in harmony with natural cycles. Persephone experiences her innocence returning home, having undergone a transformation via her encounters with the world's darker side. The mother-daughter dynamic is forced to mature as Ceres grapples with child departure and a maiden's return. All praises, y'all, because that was so much just in that, right? So I'm going to precept that here with, this is just the definition of the name Ceres that I looked up here on my free time. So I'm going to read it to y'all here. Ceres is connected to grief as well as the possibility of destroying everything in one's path in order to regain what was lost. She might also be connected to separation and time sharing, as Ceres in mythology had to strike a deal with Pluto, who had abducted her daughter, Persephone, wherein she was to return Persephone to him for a portion of the year. Chew the meat, spit out the bones, y'all, because it's about to get deeper. All praises. So, Ceres orbit time. Orbit time is the amount of time it would take for a planet to go around full circle around the sun. So, here we go with the numbers again. Ceres takes 1,682 Earth days, or 4.6 Earth years. So if you add 4 and 6, you get the number 10, of course. And if you add all the numbers that they put for the days, you will get the number 8. We know 8 is new beginnings. We know 10 is a numerous amount of things. Of course, 8 is 2, but we're gonna get to where 2 plays a role. Where 10 plays a role in what I am currently bringing out. So I got all this information. Some of it I got back when we had our last lunar eclipse. That's when the Father revealed it to me, and I could remember sitting down and getting ready to study the eclipse because I've been brought into this knowledge of the planets, the energies that the planets give off. Even tarot, I was brought into that years ago, and when I finally came into the truth to this level, it made sense. Although I had to put it down for a time, because sometimes when we come in, we get that super over righteous spirit that was given to me, which I realized later was only the Father's way of telling me, sit it down until you get it from me, not your own. So anyways, when I looked into this information, I remember seeing Ceres pop up in my studies, and I remember just crying, right? And I didn't even understand what it meant or knew, but I knew it was something extremely powerful. So keep that in mind, y'all. All right. So here I'm going to bring out a couple of things in this article that I found to be extremely detailed on some things. For one, it's talking about a conjunction that was between Ceres and Pluto. This conjunction happened in October of 2010, right? There goes the number 10, October being the 10th month to their calendar, as well as the 10th year, 2010, right? So keep that in mind, all praises. So here we're talking about the volcano that erupted at this time, which this conjunction was taking place. So it says here, Pluto and Ceres were both direct and big players in the eruption, since Ceres is the apex of a yod and a diamond aspect pattern, right? With all this, Ceres is also an apex of a T-square from Saturn and Sun's opposition. All right, well, what is that, right? Keep in mind the yod, right? As we listen to all of our brothers in the nation and some sisters as well bring out the importance, especially the brother Abdul Asir, we got to thank the Creator for raising up such a great army in this time, because we all need each other. He has very much so harped on the importance of us knowing the Hebrew language and how important it is for us to know. The word Yod is a Hebrew word, and I'm going to expound on that a little further here. So I'm going to just read one more serpent from this right here. And it says, but what is Ceres representing here? The common people? This is usually the moon, which is a part of the Yod. The mighty power of Mother Earth is speaking through Ceres. We have no control over how long this disruption lasts. All right, y'all, I'm about to get a little deeper. Let's go over here to this article I found talking about the Hebrew language. Excuse me. All right, so this is about the Hebrew alphabet. I'm just going to read a little bit from here to give you some more insight on the reason why I'm expounding on Yod. Yod, remember that word. Remember how many times you hear it and how often you will hear it the further you get along into your studies. Right now, we're getting into some very deep esoteric information as a whole, as a nation, those of us who chose to take that walk and seek the Father no matter what it took. So right here it says, Aleph is the breath of life, the exhale of the Ein Sof into the second Sephiroth. Chakma, the first manifestation of the breath, is the letter Yod, which manifests as a point. When one looks at the letter Yod, we can see that it is exactly this, a point. Remember the article I just wrote to y'all, she described it being a diamond-shaped pattern. The series, rather. Yod is the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. There goes that number 10 again. And thus also represents the 10th Sephiroth, Malkuth. This may seem at first to be out of place, but all letters, including the Aleph, have Yod in them. But all letters, including Aleph, have Yod in them. That's an important word, y'all. Okay. Yod is the seed of creation, which becomes fully manifest in the Malkuth and exists as a part of all creation, whereas Aleph is the silent potential and activation force of the divine. Yod is the igniting force which holds within it the blueprint of the divine. So many things are beaming out of my mind right now. The spirit is so heavy on me. For one, we know about the tree of life. For two, we're seeing how important these words that we are learning are that are out of the Hebrew language. Um, then also to remember, as done above, so below, right? It's so much. It's so much. Not only mentioning that, but remember the blueprint of the divine, which we was talking about this in my group. My group, I'll call it a group just for sake of knowing that, you know, my family that I study with, that I found in this truth, and we decided to you know, still love on each other and study together no matter what. So we heard the brother Main bring out the blueprint. He expounded on that when he brought out Pleiades and Orion, right? So we just heard about the blueprint, and we also heard about the activation of the blueprint. A whole deeper subject, but I just wanted y'all to get a little bit from this, that number 10. So now here we are, and I'm gonna show you guys what I seen for the dates, right? The brothers have been bringing it out, right? And what they brought out that I thought was pretty dope was the last orbit that Pluto had, right? Which was in 1776. So Pluto has an orbit time of 248 years that represent the 248 bones, and a numerous amount of other things too, right? So what I did here was on my little software that I use, shout out to the sister named Laverne who put me on a few years ago. So what I did was I plugged in that date which the Declaration of Independence was quote unquote signed. Remember, we serve an infinite power, so what I'm going to bring out, we're not going to put it in a box. We're going to bring it out and keep bringing it out. So what I chose to do here was type this date in so that we could find out, even though they claim Ceres was discovered in 1801, here we are in 1776 on July 4th. Let's go find out where Ceres was at then. Okay, so as we see here, Ceres is in the foot of Cetus. Let's zoom in a little bit. Ooh, I didn't mean to zoom in that much. All right, well, what does that mean? What is Cetus, right? And why is that even relevant? Cetus is the sea monster, the great enemy bound. So I chose to bring this out because it is super important for us to know what was going on in these times and to correspond these things with the constellations. Remember, everything revolved around the Most High and His chosen seed. Everything. So we're gonna find out why was Ceres in the foot of Cetus at this time when the declaration was quote unquote to be signed. It's so many scriptures, but I'm going to choose to only bring out just one, right? That would be relevant to the time right now as well as back then. We're going to go to Isaiah 27 and the first verse. So in that day, the Lord, with his sore and great strong sword, shall punish Leviathan with the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, the crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. I brought this out for something else that I'm getting ready to go into, and I also wanted to further let y'all know that Cetus is referred to as a number of things, one being the sea monster, the great enemy bound, as well as Leviathan, right? And we know the Most High is in control of everything, and even the things that are used for bad belong to him. It is what he says when he says, right? Okay, so now we're gonna go here. We're gonna fast forward to now, and we want to see what's going on with Ceres now. Oh, let me go back in the same time frame. I want to just let y'all see where Pluto was at the time the Declaration of Independence was signed as well. Where was Pluto? What constellation was Pluto in? There's Pluto right there. Pluto is in the constellation of Capricorn. Capricorn can mean numerous things, but we know it to mean, for this lesson's sake, the redeemed, right? That would be aka the people of Israel, right? That's who this will represent for now. So Pluto was in that constellation on the day that the Declaration of Independence was signed, okay? All praises then. Oh, excuse me. Okay, now we're going to fast forward into, well, let's take the date that we just recently witnessed all of these revelations come forth. Let's do 222. All right. Excuse me. We're going to find out where Ceres was at on 222. We already know where Pluto was. This lesson is mainly to bring out some precepts to Pluto, because we've heard that Pluto and Ceres are quote unquote twins, fraternal twins that were separated at birth, which is kind of like no coincidence that they were debunked and upgraded in the same year at the same time. So here we got the date of 2/22, 2022 being the year when we found out what Pluto was here to do. Here's Ceres in the constellation of Taurus. Well, why is that important? Here we are. What does Taurus represent? Taurus represents the Messiah, the coming judge of all the earth, right? This is why we were in the foot of Cetus when the declaration was signed, but we are currently in the constellation of Taurus. Taurus is a very powerful constellation. So many scriptures align with Taurus. However, we're going to keep it simple and short in regards to this, and we're just going to bring out the fact that the Messiah, the constellation that represents the Messiah and the coming judge of the whole earth, is where we currently see Ceres at now. It's still there today. If I showed you guys today, it's still there. And we just seen that the Father was going to further destroy the Leviathan, aka the serpent, aka the great enemy bound, which happens to be like the third largest constellation that actually exists. So I just wanted to bring these few things out to y'all. Right now is the time that we see the Holy Spirit is back with its rightful owner. The Holy Spirit is back with us where it should be. We should not we should not take that lightly in this time. We have to press in, like the brother Abdullah was saying. We need to be prayerful. This fight, we fight not with flesh and blood. So we need to be vigilant. We need to uplift. We need to keep our vibrations high. We need to be praying in the 10th hour. We need to be we are at war. And the war, honestly, true and truly, the Father has raised up a righteous nation, which we have always been. We just didn't know ourselves. And as we further expound on knowing ourselves, let that have no limits. Let the Father take you where you are supposed to be in this time, because you never know what gifts you possess. So all praises. As we see, Ceres is representing the mother, the Ruach, the goddess of agriculture, as they said when they explained it. And we see what this is. This is the Holy Spirit. This is the outpouring. And as we further along in our walk, let's use that. Let's call on our holy power day in and day out to strengthen us for what is to come, because this is only the tip of the iceberg, right? Like I always says, we are ready for prime time. We have everything we need right now. All praises. Thank y'all for listening. Shalom.